The first 3 weeks of the eruption here in Hawaii, crazy things would happen in the middle of the night. A new fissure would open up and it would threaten a new neighborhood. Thousands of people are evacuated from their homes. I started the Hawaii Tracker Facebook group to help people understand what's going on and get their questions answered.
Hey, how's it going? We're live. This is Fissure 20.
We had hundreds of people all throughout the neighborhoods sending in videos, articles, and images. We spend a lot of time making sure the accurate information gets out.
This is live. Still lava moving.
They weren't just sharing a story, they were helping their neighbor. If a family was being evacuated, the group would just jump in and help out. So it was huge. They were watching out for each other.
Hello everybody, thank you for coming. Thank you for the support from everybody.
As we go through this, we're growing closer together as a community. When tragedies like this strike, you really realize how much you need each other.
Aloha everybody, I am Dane DuPont, admin of Hawaii Tracker, and today I will be taking over this podcast a little bit. Philip is out sick, got the COVID, and happy birthday to him. I hope you enjoy your present of COVID. Kind of a shame, but I'll be taking this over today. We got a bunch lined up for you. Philip was able to help out with this update, so we're going to be able to... Oh, low audio, let me turn that up then. All right, let's try that. So we're going to be able to go through a couple things today. We got a Kilauea lineup. We also have a follow-up on the earthquakes last week from Mauna Loa. And then we're going to go into the recent fire that's still taking place at Pu'u O'o training area on the Saddle Road. And then we're going to finish off by talking about Pohoiki a little bit in the upcoming meeting with the state and county to go over the pre-decision draft from Sea Engineering. So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right into it, huh? So first we have a picture from Two Pineapples YouTube. And these guys were up at the summit of Kilauea. You can see that little bit of glow there, as well as the full moon overhead. Great little shot to start us off with. We appreciate their support as well, providing this type of content. And then we got some stuff from USGS. Now this was put out... This is from August 2nd. We showed this last week, but we got some other stuff here as well. It's worth going over this one again because just how much has changed between March and August is pretty incredible. And this is all inside the Kilauea caldera at Halimaumau. You can see just how much that is rising up, kind of like a souffle. You can see these little hornitos here and how they rise up with everything, including that old boulder from the previous eruption in 2020, 2021. Very interesting, and it's just so easy with these types of juxtapositions to see the difference. This is basically current. This was at the beginning of the eruption, September 29th. We are coming up on that 1 year date. I wonder, how many people think we're going to make that full year. Right now, it doesn't really seem like it's going to be stopping anytime soon. So this is recent, and then we take it back. Though this is before the 2020 eruption. So we've got our water lake where the water table intruded into Halemaumau, and we got that very corrosive, sulfur-rich water down there that was boiled away in the beginning of the eruption. It's amazing how much changes so quickly here. We've said it before, say it again. It seems like geologic time is in fast forward here. Then we have this is from Waldron's lead from Two Pineapples. We got a little bit of a compilation of some of the clips that they've been able to record up there recently. And this Waldron's Ledge really is one of the better spots to go to, especially if you don't like crowds. If you want to get that private viewing experience, this is probably one of the only spots you're going to be able to find up there. And the lava viewing itself is still amazing, right? This is the best you're maybe ever going to see in your lifetime up there. It's so easy, so readily available. Naked eye, you can see it with. Completely safe as well. It's really the time, if you're thinking about going up there, to make it on up there. And we appreciate these videos from Two Pineapples. They really have the know-how and equipment to be able to provide these type shots and be able to stream long periods of time up there, even without great cell phone reception. So we really appreciate them. We see that lava just splashing off the outer ramparts of what appears to be becoming somewhat of a perched lava lake, but it's kind of hard to tell. These night shots, I mean, if you're going to go up there, you got to go up there in the night when it's dark out, because otherwise you're going to be looking at different contrasts of gray on gray. But at night, it really lights up everything, and you can see the things that you couldn't see during the day. Yeah, see plenty of churning in there. And it's been like this for the past several months. I mean, it's been incredibly consistent once it's gone into this phase. And we can still see that original vent, that main vent. Every once in a while, you'll see a little rock get thrown out of it or something like that right there. Yeah, and still active, just not doing what it was doing at the beginning of the eruption, where you would actually have fountaining out of it and a lot of that kind of stuff. So here we've put it in an 8x speed, kind of show you how that lava moves across that lava lake. Yep, and just gets in those edges and throws little bits up more and more. Every little bit that goes up there builds that rampart just a little bit higher. Yep, great views up there. Being able to get these shots is pretty impressive as well. Here you see the whole caldera. It's really hard to convey the size of this thing through video, but it's absolutely gigantic once you see it in person. Then we have the update from HVO, the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, and in this one, it's pretty much straightforward. Eruption of lava from the western bend and the active lava lake onto the crater floor continued over the past 24 hours. I mean, this is what we've been doing for the past 9-10 months. As we come up to that 1 year anniversary, and September 29th is the date to get that 1 year. And that's impressive, because at the beginning of this eruption, I don't think anybody would have expected it to go that long without going into at least a significant pause again. So the sulfur dioxide is still present, 2,200 tons per day, and that's pretty much consistent with ongoing eruption rates. Again, the SO2 is also going to shadow the fusion rates. So SO2 gives you a great analog to figure out just how much is coming out of there in a general sense. So the USGS HVO update doesn't have much change to it. And here's a time lapse of the last week from the F1 thermal camera. You see that little bit of spout out of that main vent, but again, most of the action is out in this lava lake and then that cascading pool just away from it. And we can see that that bridge is becoming more and more pronounced. Do it one more time. That little land bridge between this cascading pool and the main pond. And we get a little bit of action over on the left. These ooze outs have been so common. We got the B1 camera. And it was interesting to me because when I was doing this one earlier, in a little bit more fast forward, you can actually see the rise of this thing. It's still filling quite quickly. It's just such a huge area that it has to fill in. And every time, as it fills in, the area that it needs to fill in gets wider and wider. This is an inverted cone, basically. And once it gets to that next threshold, it's going to be even a slower rise. I think that's the same one. Yeah. So here we have the S1 camera. S1 camera had another little bit of downtime in it. They were able to get it back up only within a couple days, so that's always good to see them, being able to get these cameras back up whenever they go down. All right. Not a whole lot of change, though. You can see those ooze ups on the top side. And finally, we come to the V1, the zoomed in camera right on that lava lake itself. Not a whole lot of change there. We have weeks where it's more consistent and less consistent, even though we talk about it being, fairly consistent all the time right now. But this is a very consistent week. We do have a new summer eruption reference map that gives some of the depth and things along those lines for the ongoing eruption. So you can see the locations of that island that existed from the previous eruption in 2020. Their locations, that little lava lake that's embedded in this giant lava lake that's crusted over but still able to rise freely. And then the lava lake extent is only 3 acres, but this full extent is 279 acres, just to give that size comparison. This map provides a volume averaged elevation for the crater floor of 2,884 feet above sea level. And this rise is since September 29th is 446 feet. So yeah, really getting up there, but still got a long way to go to get out of this whole inner Halemaumau pit onto this down drop block. And then to get out of there, you can see just how much of a bigger area that it would have to fill in. With that, though, Philip was able to provide some more volume calculations for us. And we can see here the 2020-2021 eruption, which is kind of similar to a logarithmic curve. But this 2022 eruption, the one that's ongoing now, looks more like something like a ski slope. I mean, it's still going pretty consistently on the pattern that it's been on. We can also see that there is some changes, though, in the volume, some fluctuations that's been happening. We can see the volatility of that first phase of the 2020 eruption as well as this one, but then it starts to get pretty consistent with a few highs and lows mixed in there. Brings us to the SO2, which is still going to be the main thing that people get impacted by this eruption that's ongoing now in Kilauea. And the SO2 is, again, going to be driven by the predominant trade winds, but when the trade winds are off, it can go kind of anywhere. But right now we do have the predominant trade winds. One thing interesting here is I want to show just the non-linearity of the color map itself. So the green goes from 0 to 0.01 ppm, and that same gap between the green and the yellow. So you're only at 0.2, and then it goes up to 1. Right, so now we have a 0.8 jump, and then we have a 2-point jump. So it's really this red range where you're starting to, or where you're really getting concerned, and this was the range that we were concerned in 2018. The red is so much more, it just means more than just a yellow, right? The whole thing could be yellow. That 1 ppm to 3 ppm, though, that's where people are really going to feel that SO2. We also got the purple air, this particulate matter, showing some of the particulate matter around the islands that's coming in. These are citizen science run. A lot of these sensors that are shown here are just individuals that operate them and send in the data. And we see that we have a few somewhat higher readings, 44, 41. We had a couple higher ones up in the north by Kilauea earlier in the day, but that was more due to a brush fire in the area where the mouse is now. We'll go over that one shortly. But yes, you can get impacted with particulate matter from either. And right now over at the summit itself, I mean, the air is inside the park when you're not downwind of the thing is actually pretty good. Coming to the lava depth, or getting more into the data now. Sorry, we're going a little fast today, but kind of got to do what we got to do when Philip's not here. All right, so turn it up a little more. This is the lava depth with the summit tilt, a 1 week cycle right here, and you can see how the tilt and the depth very much resemble each other. And this is true to the point where we follow both of them to make sure the whole thing is it's consistent with historical records. Right now, we've been seeing how the tilt and the depth of the lake had a little bit of lag between them, and that didn't exist in some previous eruptions, but right now we've been seeing that. Here's the previous month tilt up there, and the SO2 over the previous month. And we do got a couple higher readings coming in more recently. And again, this is just the fluctuations can be a very variety of things here, but we're really in a similar range. Lava flow depth, or the depth of the lava lake, pretty consistent in there. We're going to jump to look at some seismic data, some recent earthquakes. The reds are the most recent. Reds are the shallowest in that one. And here we have the past month of earthquake activity on Kilauea. Some highs, some lows, mostly consistent, and not a lot of earthquake activity in overall. Ongoing, when the eruption's ongoing, it really doesn't require the breaking of rock and the creations of new paths for the lava, so you don't get those earthquakes coming in as frequently. That really is the story of Kilauea right now. It's very consistent. Best time for lava viewing you could ask for. Overall, the threat to Lower East Rift Zone is similar to it's been over the previous months. There's really nothing to indicate anything changing significantly down there in the Lower East Rift towards populated areas. So that's kind of what we're hoping for, is that the lava stays inside the national park for a significant amount of time before returning down into areas that are inhabited by people. That'll get us through the Kilauea section. We want to recognize a few people. First would be the super chat that came through from Chris, $20. Thank you for your updates and knowledge. Appreciate it, Chris. And I'm sure Philip appreciates us as well. We do also want to thank Kaleo's Bar and Grill, Heart of Pahoa. These are longtime supporters of ours. They also have a new location out in Orchid Land. They have 2 unique menus. Definitely check them out. The Orchid Land location has live music on Thursdays. Kaika Marzo normally plays, or the Kalapana bands. So make reservation for that one. That one gets packed pretty quickly. And I hope to see you guys there. Appreciate their longtime support at Kaleo's. All right, so now we get to go into Mauna Loa. So last week, just for a little context, we had a little bit of an earthquake swarm up at the summit of Mauna Loa. And this isn't the first time we've seen this, but it's always concerning and always raises a little bit of heightened awareness whenever something like this happens, these little earthquake swarms. So the most recent volcano watch that came out today explicitly goes after this the earthquakes last week, which is great. This is really what we're after for the volcano watches, is when they have the real juicy information in it. So Mauna Loa for the past 38 years is the sleeping giant because it hasn't erupted. It does, though. We've said it last week. It's the king of pump fakes. It continues to put out signals that it is inflating. It does have magma moving in it, but every once in a while it'll put something out there to just get people a little bit more on edge. It's been doing that ever since I can remember. But we know one day it is going to erupt again, so we're kind of waiting for that real signal, the big changes coming. And right now we've seen the smaller of the changes. So most recently, scientists at USGS HVO were kept up in the evening of August 2nd and into the early hours of August 3rd, monitoring Mauna Loa. Over a period of 10 hours, 90 earthquakes were located beneath Mauna Loa's summit region, and many more earthquakes were detected, but were too small to precisely locate. The total number of earthquakes peaked at over 200 per hour. So an earthquake swarm in and of itself is not unique. Swarms have happened beneath Mauna Loa's summit in the past. During the spring of 2021, an earthquake swarm beneath Mauna Loa's summit produced about 1,000 earthquakes over a span of several weeks, with a peak rate of over 40 earthquakes per hour. So we had a little bit higher rate of earthquakes in this recent swarm of earthquakes, but that sustained several week-long swarm also counts in this metric. So this is the second time since the electronic tilt meters, the precise tilt meters, were installed in 1999 that tilt meter in Mauna Loa summit has been shown ground movement associated with volcanic activity. The first time was in the spring, during the spring 2021 activity, which you can read about. All right, so jump down a little bit to the last little bit here. Mauna Loa earthquake activity and ground deformation have returned to normal or previous levels following the August 2nd, August 3rd event. An eruption is not imminent, and they'll continue to monitor. The interesting thing, though, is, once one of these things happens, it doesn't just, the heightened awareness doesn't just go away immediately after the earthquakes end. We're still going to be waiting and watching and monitoring this thing to see if there's a continue up or a follow up to this activity, which might take it even further closer to the surface, or increase in the earthquake frequency, or maybe show clear indications and other monitoring that there is magma moving towards the surface, even though right now we know that there is the changes observed in the ground deformation reinforce an interpretation that shallower processes are occurring at Mauna Loa than we have seen in the past, right? And then if that continues, maybe we're talking eruption, but time will tell. We'll wait and see. And that's all you can do with Mauna Loa, really, is have patience, but pay attention, be aware. We can see these the tilt change when these earthquakes in this earthquake period, and we also see that little bit of a bump there from the earthquakes that came through the system, and since then it's returned to more normal levels. All right. So we finally got USGS come through with that INSAR, that inferogram of the entire island that we've been asking for. There's a problem, though, is that we try to post something. Okay, it's been a challenge. There haven't been a lot of great infograms lately. Satellite collects have been slacked off for various reasons, and there's a lot of atmospheric distortion in recent infograms. All right, so going back, we can see here the range of change. So when we see these color patterns repeat, we get the change of 2.831 or 2.83 centimeters. But really at the summit in this period, which is between June 7th and July 13th, so it's a month ago, or 2 months to a month ago. See, not much change at the summit of Mauna Loa nor really Kilauea. It is interesting that they've had, so few infrarograms to be able to work with, but we appreciate the effort to be able to get us this one. We know people were asking for it in chat, so we're able to get it, and appreciate the USGS for coming through on that. Oops. So let's talk about the Mauna Loa weekly update. Mauna Loa volcano is not erupting. Activity appeared to have settled down since the swarm. Rates of seismicity remain slightly elevated upon long-term background levels. Other Mauna Loa monitoring data streams, ground information, gas concentrations, visual appearance, and webcams show no significant changes. Yeah, it basically went back to normal after that flurry, or what we would consider more normal recently in the past couple years. The background rates is the interesting thing. It's the really only time that Mauna Loa has been said to be at the background rates was while the 2018 eruption of Kilauea was ongoing, and we saw lower earthquakes and deformation during that period. All right, so past month earthquakes up at Mauna Loa, and we can see that flurry that came through. All shallow, comparatively speaking to some of the depths that we're normally talking about. We see that little spike there, but again, returning to more normal levels. So we'll be keeping an eye on Mauna Loa, seeing if there's another flurry, seeing if we get some other signals to indicate that something may be happening outside of what we've seen thus far from Mauna Loa over the past decades. Past year, we can see that previous 2021 flurry and that elevated rate through there. Came down a little bit just in, what would that be, late May or June, and then back up to that recent flurry. All right, we do have a $40 super chat from Gary Bryan, longtime supporter. Thanks, Dane, for filling in, and Philip, get better soon. Your participation analysis is much appreciated. Definitely is. I know Philip would be going much more detail on some of these things, but we'll do what we got to do, and we'll fill it in. All right, so we're going to now go to the ongoing fire that's taking place at Pu'u O'o training area. This thing's gotten up to over 700 acres. It started yesterday.
Huge.
And you can just see the extent of it last night. Lots of smoke, and this was kind of driving those particulate matter collectors a little while earlier. Thankfully, the fire looks to have died down a little bit since its peak. It hasn't closed the roads yet, which is always good news. Remember last time there was a fire a couple weeks ago that closed the Saddle Road, and then we had to detour around Old Saddle, and then there was a fatal accident up there. It was not good sign. It was not a good sight. And here we have it's being called the Leilani Fire. I'm not exactly sure why it's being called the Leilani Fire. It confused me for a little while. Living in the United States. Sorry for your ears. But yeah, this is a video released by DNLR a little while ago of the fire. You can see it's quite big. It's just a brush fire burning slowly through all this dead vegetation. You can see some trees in there, and yeah, I hope the winds and fire crews are able to get this. The winds die down a little bit, so the fire crews are able to get this thing more under containment, be able to hopefully get it out before it impacts residential areas and shuts down roads and destroys more, vegetation. So unknown how the fire got started. It did get started, it looks like, inside Pu'u O'o training area. They're not uncommon for fires to get started in there. Yeah, it does look nasty. Over 700 acres. Look at some of the updates. So it's DOFOB Hawaii Island branch manager Steve Bergfield said, "This is an all hands on deck, all hands effort. We're watching the winds this afternoon, sending towering columns of smoke into the air." There's 33 firemen now in support of the mission, 9 private contracting bulldozers. So they're trying to set up the perimeters, 2 HFD fire department helicopters, and 80 gallons of water at a time thrown from portable dip tanks. So they're up there trying to do what they can up there. Let's try that. See, did that help anything? Test. That might not have helped. Does that help in the volume at all? I need to play with this more, I think. Yeah, I'm going to have to basically topped out right now. All right, so yeah, this fire comes just 1 year after the massive Mauna Loa fire that scorched some 40,000 acres in July and August. We do have a like a red flag warning for the fire. It's the potential for fire is very high currently. And here we have one of the more recent maps. This is from the NASA firms, and here you can see the more active areas. It looks like that leading edge. Oh, it looks like it updated. So now it's saying that it's not quite as burning as hot, which is good. It's not detecting anything within the past hour, any hot spots or any flare-ups that are going on. All right. Sorry about the mic issues. New mic, getting it all figured out still. So yeah, that's the NASA firms. These guys are always good. There is some delay on the fire, so you got to give it a little while before they show up on the firms. But very good technology to use. The Pu'u O'o training area also put out a statement on it saying that they have 6 large earth movers, dozers, creating fire breaks, 3 Army helicopters with buckets, and then 10 brush trucks, engines, and tankers approximately. All right. So yeah, that's the ongoing fire up there. It's so dry up there. It's so easy to start a fire. Then those winds just kick up and just drive it completely wild. And we've seen that many times over the past several years. So now we get to go into the Pohoiki. So Pohoiki, we have a presentation and discussion of the pre-design report. This was a report that was commissioned by the state from Sea Engineering in order to figure out the feasibility of the Pohoiki dredge to get rid of all this sand here, create a path back to the ocean once again. And there's been some difficulties that the contractors have talked about or mentioned in this report, and those are going to be discussed. The thing is that we've been here for 4 years. Time has always been of the essence with this project. There's so many people that depend on this ramp for their families, for their own well-being, to be able to provide. And not only that, this one boat ramp is the only boat ramp within probably just say 100 miles in each direction, basically. Not exactly sure how much it is. That's probably approximate. It'd be like it would be like an island the size of Oahu, not even having a boat ramp. That's how much of the coast is exposed here that doesn't have access to the water. So that impacts safety. If anybody needs a water rescue, it's got to come all the way around the island from the north side or from Kona side in order to get there. Not a lot of situations where it's an emergency that you can take that amount of time to get there. But that's where we are right now. And this is going to be the meeting that's coming up on the 18th at 3 p.m. Now this one's going to complicate our stream schedule a little bit. I think what we're going to try and do on this one is we're going to try and live stream the community meeting itself. It's going to be an important meeting. So we're going to try and live stream that, and then we'll do an update on the volcanoes probably on Friday would be my guess. So we'll plan on Friday, 5 p.m. for the next volcano update. Thursday we'll be doing the Pohoiki pre-designed report meeting. But before that, I mean, one of the things that I get told a lot is that, well, look at the sand. It's so pretty down there, right? Look how, it's a gift from Pele. We can't disturb it. It's, such a gift. So wanted to give the perspective a little bit more of some of the fishermen that work the area, that know the area, that grew up in the area, right? To see how they feel about it when the ties are so deep with that ramp. So this is Ikaika Marzo, and this is a testimony series that we've been doing on Hawaii Tracker. This is the first one posted, and Ikaika Marzo is just going to tell you his mana'o on Pohoiki and the dredge itself. So without further ado.
Hello everybody, my name is Ikaika Marzo. I am for dredging the ramp and opening up the boat ramp for our local fishermen. So Pohoiki, it means a lot to myself and also the community here in this village. And the main concern for me is our cultural ties to this place as fishermen. We have fished here pretty much all our lives, and there's multiple fishermen before us that have, and we carry on the tradition of how to fish in this area because this place is unique. It is different from every place else. The techniques that we use out here was perpetuated for generations and passed on to next fishermen. And to me, I want to pass what I've learned to the next generation also. So in Puna here, this is a lifeline for our families here in this village, Kalapana, Opihikau, Pohoiki, Kapoho, and all Pahoa. And with the scarceness of food nowadays, this is something that is essential for our people in Puna. Also holding on to the culture and traditions of how we fish. So mahalo, I hope you guys all support us, and we will try to fight to open up this ramp for our local fishermen. Aloha.
All right. We do got one more. This is a series that's been ongoing now on Hawaii Tracker. Posted another one today. This one is not posted yet, but it's heavy, this one. This is Ikaika Johnson.
Aloha, my name is Ikaika. I live in the Ahupa'o o Kīlauea, which is down the road from Kalapana and down the road from Pohoiki boat ramp. I am a commercial fisherman. I fish for a living, and not having this ramp affects me and my family more than you can ever imagine. I drive, nowadays I drive 2 to 3 times a week to Ka'u, which is about 115 miles one way to Lawai'a. With the cost of gas rising, it affects me and my family even more than you could imagine. But having this ramp rebought back and built would drastically reduce the cost of running the boat, of my truck, the repairs of everything. And not only that, it would bring back the culture that I could pass down to my kikis that don't get to journey with me on this long trip across the island. We get to, if I had a ramp here, I could do everything culturally, like fish, whatever. Just it would be in our own ahupua'a too. I wouldn't have to go to a whole nother district to gather fish for a family party, to eat, to make money, to survive. The ramp at Pohoiki is a lifeline for us. It feeds countless people, and it teaches a lot of life lessons to fishermen and fishermen's families. So the importance of the ramp to us is cultural safety. If something ever happens, the closest ramp around here is miles, 2 hours away. the time lost though culturally out here is very impactful on our community. It really affects us a lot. But bringing this back could turn that all around. It could be a whole new ballgame for everybody down here. It would help us out in the most best way possible. So I support the bringing back of the ramp, the dredging, whatever has to be done. I support that, and I hope that you guys can support that too, because it's more than just me. It's everybody around me, my family, countless families all around this Puna district. So thank you for your guys' time, and I hope that you guys can see the importance of what this ramp brings to the community and Puna and everybody that relies on it from back in the day, the old timers, the new timers, and all the in betweens. So mahalo for you guys' time. Mahalo.
Yep. I mean, he said it really well there, and the history, it goes way, way back. I mean, just to start, on the history of the Pohoiki boat ramp, I mean, we got to go back to pre-World War II, really, back when canoes were the primary way to fish in Pohoiki and all along the Puna coastline, with many areas to get in and out of the water, or this is not going to work. Okay, and we'll do the story anyways, though. So back before World War II, everybody was fishing canoes. There was all different points to be able to enter the ocean and make their way that way. Fishing was a big part of the communities going back generations. They had their own fishing methods for each area, a lot of knowledge down there. Then World War II came, a bunch of people go off to war, get into that wartime economy. And the areas that, like Kalapana, gets turned into a military base with hundreds of Army troops. I'm not sure what branch they were in, but I think it was Army, holding down the area, creating a garrison, using shade cloths and barbed wire to block off access to the coastline to prevent against some Japanese invasion, which never came, but they were very paranoid of. Really did some damage to the culture that period. So we fast forward a little ways, post World War II, the boats are coming in. Boats are becoming, the motorboat is becoming a lot more popular. People are getting used to it a little bit more, and it's only one place in all of Puna that these boats are able to be launched from, Pohoiki. Right, so the Hale family allowed all the other families to come and use their boat ramp, their Apawa'a boat ramp, to launch their motorboats from. And back in the day, we're talking about like Pohoihoi lava as the ramp, and guys lowering it down with chains by hand, the boat. Right, very involved. We're talking about guys dredging out the sand that would collect in there by hand. Families going down there on a weekend, a bunch of different families, and all getting together just to try and get that ramp or get that the sand out of the way of the boats. And in the late 70s, I think it was 1979, the Army Corps of Engineers came in, put in the breakwater that still exists today, even though now it's buried in sand. It's still there. So eventually, the ramp would be paved and then repaved, and a bunch of work would go into it. And then we get to 2018. The eruption happens, fills in 3.5 miles just to the northeast of Pohoiki, stops on the edge of the Pohoiki, making us think, oh, wow, Pohoiki's saved, right? It's not going to get taken. And then after the eruption basically ends, then the sand comes in, and it comes in quick and heavy. So over the first 6 months after the eruption ended, the sand here inundated the whole area, filled it all up, and continued working its way down the coastline, being driven by the predominant tide currents. So that brings us to the eruption. Post-eruption, we need to get rid of the sand. We've been trying this for 4 years now. We've had multiple reports come out to suggest that Pohoiki is the best area in Puna for this type of for a boat ramp to be, and we already have one there, which is a good start for, building a boat ramp is already having one. We just got to get some sand out of the way. So that's the, bringing you up to speed on the Pohoiki situation. So what this one is now is the first draft of that. What is the real plan here, right? What does the engineers say in the plan here is? This is they've hit some hiccups, and now they're coming back to the community to figure out what the community is saying. Do they want the ramp to still? Do they still want it at Pohoiki and figure out a way to make it work? Are they going to try and move it? Are they just going to can the project? A lot of options, but right now this is the meeting that's going to be discussed in heavy. So if you're interested in Pohoiki, if you care about it, that's the place to go and make your mana'o known. All right, we're getting near the end here. I appreciate everybody that turned out today. I know Philip's not here, and there's a lot of volcano-related content that he'd probably be going into right now. Doing what I can to fill in for that one. But we do have a last little bit to finish up on. This one is in America Samoa, some earthquakes that have been going on, and they somewhat interesting, somewhat confusing. Experts are assessing the situation. They don't think an extremely explosive eruption is likely, one of those devastating eruptions that we've seen elsewhere. Really, the question for us in Hawaii is the tsunami threat, right? So there's, generally speaking, just if we're going to talk about it, two types of tsunamis that we're concerned about. One, the tsunamis that originate from our island or from the Hawaiian chain itself, very close proximity, because those ones are going to get here very quickly, right? Those ones are going to earthquake, then the water within minutes to an hour type of thing. When they're far away, right, then we have a little bit of time to play with, and get the warnings out, get people evacuated and things like that. So that's going to be something to look out for. I will drop a link to this full write-up that the USGS has provided. Just yesterday it came out. So if you want to go through this, it's pretty in-depth. I'll leave that link in the chat right there. And finally, Pu'u O'o, I can't pronounce it, sorry. The public meetings of the national park coming up. These ones are starting on the 13th and or August 17th. In-person meeting, 1 to 3 in the Ocean View Community Center. And this is to collect feedback for natural and cultural resources in the area. These types of meetings are always good to get the information out to the community, but also get the feedback from the community in case there's any changes that need to be made. So that if you want to go visit that one, that's in Ocean View on the 13th at 1 or on the 17th at 6:30. And there's also a Zoom link for that one. All right, well, we did get through basically everything that I had laid out. It's a little bit of a shorter update. We will be back next week at, I think 3 p.m. this one. We're going to be doing a special one, so we're going to try and go live earlier than normal next week. And then we'll be doing that Friday stream to catch up on the latest on Kilauea and Mauna Loa or any other changes that happen geologically on the island. If there is something that happens where something goes wild and something happens, Mauna Loa, Kilauea, whatever, we will go live with a special broadcast. Really, that's not expected, but you never know. We got a couple questions here. Do my best to answer them. Planning a way to block more sand from clogging could be part of the delay. Yeah, that's really part of the delay. It comes down to how are they going to retain the sand? What are they going to do with the sand? How do you keep the sand from coming back? Right? There's a whole bunch of questions in those lines, and the thing about it is the Puna coastline, that ocean is unimaginably strong. The currents in there, the motion of the ocean is just gonna break as much of the rocks, drive as much stuff into places you don't want it. It's violent out there. So anything we got to do is got to be able to, withstand that ocean. But we still got to make that, that good old college try. All right, and that's going to be what that meeting's about. Hope to see you guys there. We'll end with the photo that we started off. Thanks again for Two Pineapples for providing us with some content. And yeah, wishing Phil to get better as soon as possible. And until next time, aloha everybody, and stay classy, Puna.